CGB's recording sucked, and therefore I'm going to do the intro now because he's talking.
Yeah.
This is, do I think a card is on the watch list, or what is this called again? The Game Changers list.
The Game Changers
of
list.
The new commander committee of Wizards of the Coast. We are both huge fans of Wizards of the Coast, so this should be fantastic to see how smart they are. There.
You good? You good? We ready for this video?
Sorry.
For those of you out there who want context, maybe the editor will splice something in that I said previously in the other recording that didn't work out. Yo, keep your coffee in your mouth, crazy man.
I am man.
Proper internet funny man business. Rarran, they did it. Remember in September when they banned a bunch of cards, some new cards in Commander, and the community got all upset, and then Wizards of the Coast took over the format? You remember this. We talked about this. Well, they've been pretty quiet, Wizards has, since taking the format, but they formed a little committee, and they've been talking about things, and they've been hinting at stuff coming. Well, something's here. The bracket system is here. They now have ways to try to analyze how good your deck is in Commander so that you only play against other decks that have similar goals and power levels. They've created brackets. There are 5 brackets that you can fall into. And dude, I'm telling you, this is the news here. I've got your brackets right here. I've shared a little graphic with you. We'll put it on screen. They have number 1. Exhibition, your ultra casual Commander deck, and they have your little categories that they've decided are important, like no mass land denial, no Winter Orb, no Armageddon in these decks. You know what I mean? No 2-card infinite combos. All right. None of that none of that win the game on turn 2 nonsense. All right. And then here's the fun part. Do you see where it says no game changers? A game changer. Game changers are a list of cards. They picked out 40 cards. These are cards that they feel so drastically affect the game that you can only have so many of them in a deck before it changes the power level of your deck. So you see here in Exhibition and Core, there are no game changers from this list of 40 cards allowed. Essentially, they banned these 40 cards in these brackets. And then you see in level 3, you can have up to 3 game changers. You see that? You have up to 3 cards from this special list. All right. And then when you get into 4 and 5, it becomes a little more like interesting, right? It's so no restriction on your game changers when you get to optimized and you get to CEDH, competitive EDH. I'm curious if you think a card is a game changer or not. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This dropped right into my lap. I had a whole other video planned for today, and then this announcement happened, and I was like, let's see. Let's see if our boy Rarran can identify a game changer. All right. So, like, we pre-gamed. We'll call it that. And
okay, so those 2 cards don't matter in the context of this video.
No, we were just warming up. Warming up.
Everyone, in case they cut it for the video, I need to make sure that people know he showed me 2 cards and I got both of them right. So I'm kind of gaming already.
Kinnan Bonder Prodigy, Jingataxis, Korra Augur. Well done.
Oh, nice.
Both game changers.
They won't have to hear me pronounce the freaking second card, so that's great. That's great.
That's true. Yeah. So we got a 2-mana commander that makes a lot of mana. That's a game changer. We got a 10-mana. Everybody discards their hand and you draw 7. That's a game changer. That's the WotC line. Okay. So let's see what in between is also a game changer. Is this card I'm about to show you? Is this card a game changer?
Niv Mizzet. This dragon is fantastic looking. I'm going to be honest. Niv Mizzet. Perun.
Mm-hmm.
3 blue, 3 red. This spell can't be countered. Okay. This is another legendary creature for the record. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, this deals 1 damage to any target. When a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. And this is a 5/5. Oh, and it's flying. Oh, I really like the art here. Really cool card.
He's a vibe, dude. Niv's a vibe.
Does he have like an alter or like a signature or whatever you guys call him in this game?
Do you want special art of Niv Mizzet Perun?
Yeah.
Well,
if he's got it.
For one thing, there are, I think, 4 or 5 different. Okay, there are 7 different Niv Mizzet cards, actually.
Okay.
And they all have different art. So you have a lot of options in your Niv Mizzet art, for sure.
Okay. Let me think about this. This spell can't be countered. I guess that's fine. It's always just a nice little benefit here. Flying is good. I guess it's kind of expensive for. I mean, a 6-mana 5/5 seems like a pretty good rate. I think for the most part. Whenever you draw a card, this deals 1 damage to any target. So the theory behind this is whenever someone plays something, you do 1 damage to something because you're always drawing a card and you have like infinite draw. In theory, you are getting at least 1 card here. And 1 damage. So the worst case scenario for this is a 6-mana 5/5 draw 1 card, deal 1 damage. Would I play that?
Where do you get the 1 card? It's when a player casts an instant or sorcery. Minions are not instants or sorceries.
I was gonna say like no. So what I mean is like when you play this and your opponent responds to this, that's 1 card. Yep. That's 1 card. Or you're playing a card with this, and that's 1 card.
You are right about that.
I'm going to the fact that like you're playing. Because this card seems just objectively good. Like in Hearthstone circumstances, I think if this was like word for word exactly what it said, you would have to kill this card like immediately. This is going to win you the game. Which means I was assuming it's the same thing in Commander. And then on top of that, your opponent is going to respond to this. You're probably never going to attack with this unless you get the free hit with flying. So your opponent's going to do damage to this at some point. I'm going to use a spell against this. So you probably get 1 draw and 1 damage guaranteed with this thing, no matter what. Unless there's something on the board that would deal with this, but I don't think there would be. I don't know why you would cast this if it's going to die immediately. So if that's the case, I think a 6-mana 5/5 that draws you a card and deals 1 damage in Commander is fine. But obviously, the more cards and stuff you get to play with this, the better it gets. That also means, so your opponent plays an instant, you play a spell on the stack that would also proc, right?
Yeah.
I think it goes like bottom up.
Yeah.
Right. So you're probably getting a lot from this. So even if your opponent responds, you're drawing more cards because it's not when the spell resolves, it's when the player plays the card. So then you get to see the draw and deal the damage, and then you get to react to it, right?
That's right. And you get to draw the card before that card resolves. So if you draw another card that you can then play to do it again, you can do that.
This guy's, he's kind of like, let me look at his altar real fast. Damn. He looks sick as fuck. I think this is good. I'm trying to think about how disgusting this is in Commander, though. 1 damage to any target is so annoying. But I don't know. Like, I like the fact that you can kind of talk with the pod and be like, hey, like, you should play more stuff so I can deal more damage to this person. I like that little politic action with this card.
Crim is rubbing off on you. I don't like this. We don't need this.
I also like the fact that I like the decision here. Like there's a lot of like really incremental stuff here that matters. And I think it makes for more engaging gameplay. It's not like just like some inherently broken mechanic. It's very incremental, which means that like it's in theory, there's a lot of like gameplay to be had with a card like this. Like you showed me like Kinnan, which is just like, I'm going to innervate and probably ruin the game. This is like, hey, like we're going to actually like interact with one another here because this card's now on the board. So I don't think it's a game changer. I think it's just a good card. And I think that's fine. Good cards are allowed to exist.
The verdict is not a game changer?
Yes. Oh, I thought that's what you were going to say. Yes.
I love messing with you this way. But Niv Mizzet Perun is not a game changer, according to Wizards of the Coast. Which is kind of wild. It's one of the interesting things about the game changers list is that it forbids like 2-card win the game combos that happen too quickly at certain levels. Niv is a very frustrating card. The play pattern you talked about like putting a bunch of spells on the stack and responding to them and getting to draw a card and deal a damage for every single spell is it's something. It's a lot to track, and it does happen.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Niv has a few cards that combo with it immediately to win the game. Like there's an enchantment that you can put on Niv that says whenever you deal damage to a player, you draw a card, which creates an endless.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just a little loop there. And I think that the reason Niv doesn't make the game list like the Game Changer list is because that combo in of itself is kind of banned at those lower levels, right? Because it says no 2-card combos. So like that includes the commander right there. So they don't feel a need to put this on the list, right? Because if it's not combo ending the game, it's just drawing a bunch of cards and dealing a bunch of damage. It's a good card, like you said. So
Okay.
very astute. Dude, you get this. Did you work on the Game Changers list? Are you on the rules committee?
Oh, I did it. I don't know. I feel like at this point in time, we've done so many videos that I think I'm able to make a distinction of like, if a card is just so unfun to play against, then it's like, it should be on the Game Changer list. This one, I don't know. Maybe I'm just really wrong because I got the Armageddon card wrong on your salty ass video, whatever.
Hey.
But when I see this card, I don't envision it being like the worst thing to play against. It just seems like a really interesting design.
All right.
So I'm for it. I'm for it.
You're for it. You'd like to play Niv-Mizzet Perun someday. That's what I heard.
Maybe.
All right. Well, I know you played against this card, so I want to know if you think it's a game changer.
Okay. Cyclonic Rift. When did I play against this card? Was this with you?
Oh, just read it. It'll come back to you. It'll all come back to you.
One
now.
neutral, one blue. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Okay, this was with you, wasn't it? What happened with this? What'd you do to me?
Oh, I didn't do it. This was Krim.
What did he bounce back? Did he bounce back my commander?
Everything. He bounced everything. And Voxy and I were screaming because we thought he said he didn't have this in his deck. And then he just straight up played it when I tried to kill him. He just did it. He hit everything with Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, so he did the overload of it.
Mm-hmm.
You may cast a spell for its overload cost if you do change its text by replacing all instances of a target with each. All right, let me go back up to the list here. Hold on. No mass land denial or extra turns. Is this land denial? That's an interesting question. You're not denying lands, you're like removing lands.
No, it's all non-land permanents. Like lands don't go anywhere.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not land denial. It's not land denial.
This doesn't seem to have traumatized you. You seem either that or you blocked it out completely.
I don't think it did. I mean, I also just had a lot of fun. So like, I don't think I look back at that like, oh, like fuck Krim for what he did. I don't think it was
I remember I was trying to kill him and he just wouldn't die. I remember all my little creatures got sent packing.
No 2-card infinite combos. I don't think this really fits into that either. So it's okay, so it comes down to Game Changers are very strong card, obviously very strong. Ruins the game. Was our game ruined post this? And this is a one sample size example that I have personal experience with.
Yep. Game Changers dramatically warp commander games, allowing players to run away with resources and shift games in ways that many players dislike.
I think I disagree with everything until the last couple words there, because I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, are you serious? You're going to cast this? Like, that's just unfun. And like, if I'm playing in a casual game, do I want my opponent to play the Rift? Probably not. Now, when Krim played it, I think you guys were freaking out. I don't really remember what my reaction was. It feels like I didn't react that much about it because I don't remember being that upset. So I think it's probably fine, but I think I'm not considered a casual CDH player considering how much I play it. I think a lot of people would not like this card. It's very good. 7 mana to just remove everything is pretty powerful. It's blue. It's also very good on its own. I can definitely see it. This one's kind of a toss up. How big is this list, if you don't mind me asking?
40 cards. 40 cards.
And I've seen 2 of them already. Is this card more annoying than Jin? Sorry, I'm going to use a card that you may not put in this video, but I'm going to interact with it for 1 second.
No, that's fine.
I think it's more annoying than that fucking card, I'm going to be honest.
More annoying than Jin, Cyclonic Rift?
I just don't see Jin being like, again, like you have to tell me, like, you just cheat this guy out and like he's just so annoying. Like there's just too many ways to cheat this guy out, right? That's the only way I see him being played.
I think that's the general take on Jin Gitaxis and creatures like that is like, yeah, at this point, cost is a suggestion. It's like rating Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
So with the overload, because I think Crim cast it for its full mana, but can you cheat the overload of this?
Not really. There are spells that let you reduce the cost of spells that you cast, and that could be considered cheating. But for the most part, you're trying to get to 7 mana to cast it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take a limb here and say this card is on the list, but I'm only saying it is because I think a lot of people don't want to like restart the game.
So this is like the casual commander player mindset of like yeah, it annoys people. I
don't want to be 45 minutes into my game. Someone plays this and it's like, we're not starting at the beginning, but we have to basically build up the game again to get to a point where like we feel like we're actually having fun with Commander. So yeah. I think for that reason alone, I can see it on the list. And this is more of a guess to see if this card would be on it. And then that helps me with future cards. But I'm going to go with
4 for 4, dude.
Really?
4 for 4.
Woo!
Crushing. Dude, too easy, right? Look at this. And people thought this might be controversial, these decisions. The game changer list. Rarran's just out here shooting it down. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done.
If people don't like the decision that they're doing, is it controversial?
It's right now, it's really fresh. I can look online. I can find a lot of comments that are for it. I can find a lot of comments in YouTube content creator videos that are against it. I can find all of it. I am not sure right now which way people lean as a whole. I think the internet generally leans towards complaining. So I always think there's a bias there. But there are a lot of like supportive things out there too. I honestly can't tell. Like, let me know in the comments. I'm right now a day after this announcement. Let me know in the comments where you're at the time this video comes out. Are we for this? Are we against this? The beta, and they've stressed it's a beta, is going to be tried at MagicCon Chicago, which is not this weekend, but the weekend after, where they're going to actually use the brackets to pair matches. If you just walk in and enter their commander event, they're going to ask which bracket you want to be in. There will also be options for unbracketed play. If you'd want to ignore brackets, but this is going to be their first try of like pairing people up to see if it creates for good games. And there is a lot of dialogue around if it'll help or not. There's a lot of videos out there called "It Won't Work." You know,
so it's better to have this in place than not, though, right? I feel like that's probably correct for the average player.
I feel like you would want that. Yeah, it's a better. That's my biggest thing is comparing it to what we had before. There wasn't much, right?
At least it's not like arbitrary, like the. No offense to the last committee, but again, like I feel like we're throwing like darts at a wall, like what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned. At least this is like a pretty sound. Like you could look at this and like be like, oh, this card's on a watch list, so you should be a little bit careful whether or not you want to buy this or not. Like, I kind of like that, even though people probably made theories about, or not theories, like guesses of like, oh, this card is really good, there's a good chance it's going to get banned, but it's nice to have like a definitive list of cards you can be a little wary of. I think that's like a good thing to do, especially after like the commotion that happened like last year, right?
Yes.
So I'm for this.
And with the amount of like just debate about like, well, what makes a game casual, right? Or like power level. The people who seek fairness in everything, you know, that inner desire for fairness, love to complain about power levels in Commander games. I bet you can find comments on the game that you played with me about power level, about whose deck was more powerful or whatever. A lot of people were dunking on your Commander. It's not very powerful. Your Commander did a lot in that game. So like, the fact that there's so much like discourse online about what's fair in Commander is like, they're trying to give you guide rails, but some of them are controversial, you know?
Sure.
Some of them are controversial. Like this
card. Can't please everyone.
Is this a game changer? You know, you once called this the best card I ever show you.
Oh, what is it? Ooh. All right. Mana drain, 2 blue, instant counter target spell. At the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of neutral mana equal to that spell's mana value. Disgusting card. Very, very good, especially because it's instant. 2 mana, super cheap for this, and you get, in theory, this pays for itself, if not more. Disgusting card. All right, let me go up to the top here. Let me go through the list once more. I feel like I would be very careful with this card. No mass land denial or extra turns. That doesn't really fit in with the.
Yeah.
Cards again. Because you can't counter a land, right?
You cannot counter a land. That is correct.
It's only a spell. Okay,
that
so
would be awesome. Let's go.
No 2-target or 2-card infinite combos. I don't think, unless I just don't know another card exists, you can really infinite combo this. So sure. Very strong card. I mean, yeah, okay. Ruins the game. Okay. You can only run one of these in your deck. You have to have the color blue. I don't think mana drains for any other color, right? Just to be clear.
That's right.
Okay. You have to have blue in your deck. You can only do this once unless you can get this spell back. But for argument reasons, I'm going to pretend you only have this once. Is a one-time mana drain gain potentially a ton of mana that brutal a game of Commander? The person you are targeting is going to be upset. But just like kind of Niz, that's his name, right? I hope I don't go. Niv, sorry, Niz.
I love Niz.
Just like Niv, sorry.
He nizzed all over the place.
I
awesome.
do think there is some kind of politics with this card, right?
Yeah. I mean, is there? I don't usually ask. I just do it.
You just do it. From your experience, how do people feel about this when you play this card against them?
Oh, they hate it. It's somewhere between, oh God, to I never want to play again, to money bags, you asshole. How dare you do that to good, honest, hardworking people? That's about the range.
So people are upset. Is everyone in
it's an
pod?
Expensive card. So that was part of the thing. Remember when we did the Commander ban list videos, how sometimes we'd talk about the money? Like the financial value of the card and its impact. This is one of those cards that is always like $50 to $80 at the low, So like when you play one of these, instead of say counterspell, which is 2 blue to counter target spell, but doesn't give you mana. When you play one of these, somebody's going to be like, oh, money bags, pay to win. And they get salty.
Does the new listing account for its price of the card?
So fun. See, Wizards of the Coast
likes money.
For legal reasons, will never acknowledge the secondary market. They will never talk about it.
That's a good decision. That's a good decision. So, in other words, they will not account. They won't publicly account for that.
Weirdly, there's nothing about the price of any of these cards in the article. Although not weirdly at all if you know them. You know how it works.
Okay, I'm going to imagine that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to say they're only counting the power level of this card. I also feel like it's kind of good for them to have cards like this in Commander, because people will buy sets containing these cards potentially.
Oh, so God, you're selling the product. That's your logic. Okay.
Wizards, my email is open. Mana Drain feels like a good card. I don't think, again, one-time effect to stop a count. I mean, obviously you get the mana, which is very good, but like, is it really like holy, we gotta be careful. 40 cards? How many cards are in Commander? Like 8 million? And I've seen 3 of them already.
27,000 to be exact, or close to exact.
Okay, I think this card's good. I think the fact that it's only single target means that it's not that egregious to be on 40 cards, and I've already seen 3 of them, so I don't think it's going to make the cut for 37 other ones. So I think it's not on the list.
Mana Drain is not a game changer according to Rarran.
Yes.
You might get an email from Wizards of the Coast. You're correct.
Woo! Let's go, baby! I'm so fucking good at this.
You actually are. That is amazing. You are on a tear. You are on a tear. You know what? You're so good. I'm just going to stop providing context. I'm just going to drop a card here, and you're going to tell me.
That's fine. That's fine. Ooh, okay. I feel like you've also shown me this art.
I have. Here, you can have a different art if you like. Same card.
Oh, what the hell? That's so unique. No, that's kind of, I'm going to read the new one. That's kind of sick.
Yeah, that's the Amonkhet Invocation art right there from the Masterpiece series. Yeah.
That is nice. Yeah. That's a nice looking card. Okay, 3 neutral, 2 blue. I think that says instant. Yes, that does. Okay. I like the way that they've done this, like the hieroglyphic kind of writing. That's kind of sick. You may pay 1 life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay Force of Will's mana cost, and you can counter target spell. 1 life and 1 blue card. Okay, so 5 mana to counter target spell. You're not playing that. You literally just had counter spell, and I've just seen I mean, I only won one, so I guess this is a consideration. But Counterspell is a strictly better card than this if you're playing the mana cost. So mana cheating this, you pay 1 life. 1 life in Commander is not as valuable because you're playing it with 40. And you can exile a blue card from your hand. Blue card contains a land?
Not typically, no. Lands are typically colorless. I say not typically because there are blue cards that are called MDFCs where you can choose which side to play them on, the front or the back, and sometimes the back side's a land and the front side's a blue card. But typically, no. Exile
a blue card from your hand rather than pay Force of Will's mana cost, and you can target a counter spell. I was going to say a free counter spell seems very good. But -2 cards and 1 life to counter a target spell. So the theory is like, if you're countering a spell and that stops you from losing the game, it's entirely worth it. And you'd rather keep your mana up to play a different card because this card has the pretense of like, you're not going to play it for free, or you are going to play it for free. Which means like, that's really good. This is actually like an insane amount of mana cheating. And like, especially in the early game where you don't have the mana, like I think you're pretty okay to count. And target spell, just to be clear, does mean minions or monsters.
Yep. Anything on the stack that can be countered. Yep.
And you can't target someone's commander, right?
You can.
Oh, that is really good.
You could, but if it's Niv Mizzet, Perun, it can't be countered. But that's a pretty rare line of text. You could counter a Jin-Gitaxias.
That is a very interesting card. You definitely showed me this before, and I think I said this card's very good because mana cheating is insane.
We talked about it in the standard, very old standard context once upon a time. We haven't talked about it in Commander.
I think between both of us, it's not a question of like, well, you obviously know, but I'm thinking like this card's just good. Like, it's not a question of that. It's more about, is this card good enough? And because in my opinion, I actually still think Mana Drain's a better card. I'd rather have Mana Drain than Force of Will, I think, majority of the time. But in the circumstances where you don't want to pay the mana for this, and you're okay with exiling a blue card from your hand, this is very good. I just don't see this being on like the 40 card list. Mana Drain's a better card than this. And if Mana Drain's not there, why would this be there? Is the fact that you could pay 0 mana really going to tilt someone off the planet? Maybe. You can also, countering someone's commander is really interesting. But with Mana Drain, you can counter their commander too, right?
That's right.
Okay, so is casting this for free better than Mana Drain? That's the only question that comes to my mind. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think Mana Drain's just a better card than this, and I hope you agree with me. You can tell me after. But I think this is not on the ban list. But why would you show me this after Mana Drain if that's the case? I'm trying to trick myself into thinking this would be on the list now, which I'm not going to fall for your bait. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. I think Mana Drain's a better card. And if Mana Drain's not there, I'm not agreeing with this. I could say that because this card's old as fuck that it's like going to be on the list because they don't want people to play this because it's so hard to find, but they probably reprinted this at some point. So no, it's on the list. There's no way. No way. Not better than Mana Drain.
I'm so with you on like everything you said, but Force of Will is on the Game Changers list and Mana Drain is not.
Do they have like a description?
No.
Here we go again. Oh no.
No. We're right back where we started, baby. We don't know why.
I feel like it has to be a mandatory thing for them to be like, this is the reason why it's not on the list. If they're going to do something like this, I feel like it's very important to describe why.
I think so too. And you know what? It might be out there. There are so many videos and articles that have been released since this happened. And there are a number of content creators that are on the new advisory panel that works with Wizards on these things. So there's a lot of content I haven't watched yet. Leave me a comment if they talked about the why of Force of Will and let me know where to find it, because it's such right now content overload on this topic. I might have completely missed it. But in the article itself, I do not see an explanation for why Force of Will and not Mana Drain. I agree. I run Mana Drain in almost every blue deck. I run Force of Will very rarely. very rarely, because going down a card is usually very brutal. It's very brutal. I have to run it alongside other cards that draw a ton of cards to make sure that that doesn't cripple me. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, now I'm intrigued. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the first one that is like, huh? Right? It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel
it's
like
crazy.
they definitely need to justify this, but okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what? Write me a little essay in comments. Justify Force of Will and not Mana Drain for me, because that is the biggest head scratcher. I was really curious if you could help me get there. Let's look at some more fun cards. You can tell me how game changey they are.
Okay. Winota. I think that's how you say it. Or is it Winota? I think it's Winota. Joiner of forces, 2 neutral, 1 red, 1 white. This is another legendary creature. When a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's a 4/4. You control attacks. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Holy fuck. Oh, damn. That's a spicy ability.
Would it be a good Hearthstone card?
Yes. Yes. There's no human type in Hearthstone, but this would go crazy, I'm pretty sure. Okay, mana cheating is pretty good. I mean, I think we've established that. 4 mana 4/4 is fine. It's also really good because you can, if you have a board already, that's any non-human creature control, like just attacks.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And for each one. Yeah. Picture all your Murlocs. Huh? If you had all Murlocs in this, it would trigger for each one.
No, that can't be balanced. What the fuck? And they attack?
Yeah, they come in tapped, attacking, and indestructible.
And indestructible?
Yeah. And they stay on the battlefield. They don't sacrifice. They don't return to hand.
No,
they're just there.
Okay, let me take a step back here. Let's not get too emotionally attached already to a card that I think is disgusting. Let me walk through this. Okay, hold on. No mass land denial or extra turns. I mean, I don't need extra turns or you're fucking dead. No 2-card infinite combo. I mean, potentially with a card like this could be an infinite combo. Is there a card that says when this attacks, create a 1/1 something that also attacks tapped? And if that attacks, does that also proc this?
So fun timing thing. If it comes in tapped and attacking, it doesn't proc this.
Okay, so it's not an infinite loop. It is okay.
Correct.
Okay. That is a very important distinguish to make. Okay, very strong. Let's just move on to the next one. Ruins the game. God, that is so disgusting. It just 4 mana to just potentially wipe someone off the game. Like, because the power level you get from this could be so disgusting. You're so far ahead. You're so far ahead. God, I want to say yes. I don't know, man. This is a really gross card. The only thing holding me back, though, is like your opponent plays this for 4 and then you mana drain them and then they're fucking crying. So, like,
totally legit. You're using the run removal argument in Commander.
I'm just trying to. Objectively speaking, this card's very strong.
Is it better than Jingia Taxes?
Yes. I think 100% yes. Because I don't need a fucking hand if you're not on board. I think Mana Drain is still better than this. Circumstantially. But this card could just win the game on the spot. Like, there is a good chance, especially if you build your deck well enough, that consistency-wise, you are going to build a big enough board that the game's over. Non-human creature is very easy to proc, and I'm assuming there's human creatures in this game that will just win the game on the spot. In terms of just their power level. I think this is on the list.
There are some very strong humans. Usually, like, the best humans are going to be around, like, 5, 6, 7 mana. So that's the level of mana cheating we're talking about if you were to hit high roll and hit those. And they are very powerful.
If you hit one, let's say you hit 1 7 mana card. This card paid for itself. You drew cards and you played it. That's nuts. And then you can even get more because you can have more than one.
There's a 7-mana human that while it's on the battlefield, every source you deal does triple damage.
I'm just trying to think of how much of a Disneyland are we in with this card, because you'd have to, if this is your, I'm assuming you're going to make this as your commander. And if you make this your commander, people understand how the game is going to be played from the very beginning. And that seems like it would not be fun. You already know the ending of the game. Well, one ending of the game, which is this person just high rolls and the game's over. If I am a casual gamer and I see this card, am I going to have fun playing against it? Probably not majority of the time. I'm going to put on the list. I think this card snowballs too fast.
When Winota Joiner of Forces. Oh, this stupid this card got like banned or nerfed in everything on Magic Arena. This card is an absolute menacing nightmare, and this card is a game changer. It is on the list. Yes. And as a commander, this card is such a murderer. You are so right. This card is mana cheating. It is aggression. It doesn't matter if you don't have a hand, if they're dead. Yes, all of these things. You are right. Pretty good game-changing move there. Yeah. Dude, if you ever play with or against this card, holy crap.
I don't want to. I was going to say, like you said, in Hearthstone, I think this is like just wins you the game. Hearthstone has cards like, I don't know if I showed him. His name is Dungar. He's 9 mana. He summons 3 minions from 3 different expansions. That's what his text is.
Damn.
That card's fucking stupid. It's silly with Druid. Like it just wins you the game. Like you need to have really good answers for some of these minions. Otherwise the game is over. And like this has the same vibe. And if I'm playing Commander, it's just miserable. So I don't want to play against that.
Yeah. When you attack with a minion, summon another minion that's attacking with like a random one. Yeah. It's dumb. It's dumb. Anyway, because you said it doesn't matter if you have a hand, if they're dead on board, I'm going to show you this next card. This is not the order I intended, but we're going to do it. And I'm curious what you think.
Lion's Eye Diamond for 0 mana. Sacrifice this. Oh, it's an artifact. So sacrifice this. Discard your... Okay, when it says sacrifice, it's like you just play this and sacrifice it immediately.
You can. Yeah.
Okay. Discard your hand, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source. So, okay, it's just we're on the same like level here. It is 0 mana to sacrifice something, and you get 3 mana of one color.
But you have to discard your hand first.
Oh, I guess that's fair. How good is that?
Good question.
Discarding your hand. We have talked about how discarding your hand isn't necessary, or discarding cards is not necessarily a bad. If this is Yu-Gi-Oh, might be the most like fucking disgusting card. But obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have mana, so it's hard to compare. We've talked about how getting cards in your graveyard is not a bad thing. But if you have no hand, you need something else to interact with this. So that means you need a card that says discard. When you discard a card, draw a card, or something along those lines.
Even if you did that, when this resolved, you would discard the cards you drew. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, let's see. So if you activate this, discard your hand, make 3 mana, and then the discard trigger went on the stack and you drew a card because you discarded. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would refill you.
Okay, the fact that you had to think about that means this card's not very popular.
Well, or that effect you're talking about isn't very popular.
What other effect would I want with this? How do you use the mana if you don't have cards to play?
Well, you always have your commander. The command zone is not your hand.
Oh, I kind of see the vision now. You play Lion's Eye Diamond with enough mana to play Winota, and then you win the game. I see it. I see the vision. That is extremely interesting. It also works really interesting with Niv.
Mm-hmm.
The commander is interesting here. I didn't actually think about that. I'm glad you said it. Because I think like cheating out your commander if it can draw you a bunch of cards, that seems pretty good. And you have your commander on board. So like, is the sacrifice of your hand worth it to get your commando out early? I think for a lot of decks, the answer is yes. You just have to build for it. And later in the game, if you have like one card and you just need the additional mana to do something, like it's not that bad. I'd sacrifice a card for 3 mana, depending on the context of the game. I just think there's too many what ifs though for this card to be on the list. Like it seems fine. I think you could build a lot for this, but Soul Ring is like the same thing.
Hold on. Okay. Since you mentioned it, I was kind of waiting for that. One of the big question marks on here is about Soul Ring in the Game Changers list. Let me read what they say about Soul Ring. I don't want you comparing anything to Soul Ring without hearing this. Okay. So Soul Ring is not on the Game Changers list. And they said, the big question in the article that they answer, why isn't it? Because obviously it's good and a game changer. It fits all the criteria. They say, the truth is, this is a quote, the truth is, it's Soul Ring. It's the most iconic card in all of Commander. It's something that since near the beginning has been a poster child for the format. Playing one Soul Ring is a universal truth. Every deck gets exactly one Soul Ring to let it power up and accelerate a bit extra on occasion. That remains true. They're saying, yep, it's good enough to be on the list, and we're not doing it because it's Soul Ring. You get Soul Ring, that's it. So don't compare it to Soul Ring. They have basically said Soul Ring is a special exception.
Listen, I'm gonna say that as much as they can say that, it's not the case why it's not banned. I think the fact that it's in so many pre-con decks means that they don't want to redo all the pre-con decks.
Remember, Wizards, you can email Rarran at
which is fair. I'm not saying it's a horrible decision, but it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm still going to compare it to Soul Ring because I think Soul Ring's a really good comparison to this.
Okay.
Soul Ring, if I remember, is 1 mana to gain 2 mana, but that's once per turn. So, or once per tap, I guess is what you want to say. But you don't discard your hand. So if I go land Soul Ring turn 1, I'm basically already to the point where this is going to be as good. So is discarding your hand, like is cheating mana for discarding your hand to get your commander out early that powerful that it's going to change the game? That's like this entire card right here. That is potentially very strong. It could potentially ruin the game. But 40 cards, is that consistent that you're like, so like there has to be a commander I don't know. I'm going to go with no. But I think if there's a commander that can consistently draw you a bunch of cards after this resolves, this is banned. But I just don't know what commander that would be. So I'm going to go with no.
Do you remember Jeweled Lotus? Probably the best comparison.
Jeweled Lotus.
It's one of the cards that got banned last September. It was 0 mana, make 3 mana to cast only your commander.
Yes.
Yeah, that card got banned.
But you're not discarding your hand.
That's right. You're right. But apparently that's good enough because Lion's Eye Diamond is on the Game Changers list.
Really?
Yes, it is. It is. And while sometimes it is very often used to cast the commander at the cost of your hand, that is a thing that happens. There are commanders that interact with your graveyard favorably, so you can look at it there. There are commanders that are so powerful when played early that they have a huge impact on the game, so it works there. But Lion's Eye Diamond's primary role in the competitive sides of the format is a combo piece, because there are cards like Yawgmoth's Will and Underworld Breach that are legal that let you cast cards from your graveyard. So if you have a Lion's Eye Diamond and a graveyard full of cards, you can keep playing the diamond, making 3 mana, casting the cards in your graveyard, replay the diamond, make 3 mana, cast a card from your graveyard. Yikes. Replay the diamond, make 3 mana, cast a card from your graveyard, and basically pop off from that perspective. Now, that is part of not really a 2-card combo. It's usually a lot more pieces than that, but it comes together very cleanly because you just need the diamond on the board or in the graveyard to go off when you find the card that lets you cast from the graveyard. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky one, but it is often just used to slam commander and discard your hand, which is kind of wild when you see people do it. It's like an all or nothing move, and they put it on the Game Changers list. And not that it matters whatsoever in any way, but it is also a reserve list card that will never be reprinted. That's worth hundreds of dollars. But that doesn't matter. All right. Next card. This is fun. This is a fun game.
Interesting. Mana Geyser, 3 mana, 3 neutral, 2 red. Add 1 red for each tap land your opponent controls. It's a sorcery. Okay, turn 5. Hold on, I gotta do the math here. Let's say you're going last.
Yep.
Let's say you're going first.
Sure.
If one person played 1 land every single turn, that's 4 mana. Let's say they're all tapped. That is 12 mana you're getting for 5. That's pretty good. If you're going last, that means each opponent played 5 lands. If they all played once per turn, it's 15. 15 is pretty good. You get 10 extra mana for a card. I would pay that. I would play that. Is that a game? Sorcery means that it's slower, so your opponent can look at it, but I mean, they would have to have untapped lands, which means this is worse. This is an interesting card. If it resolves and your opponent they all have tapped lands, you're gonna hate yourself. This also only gets better as the game continues going, because the more lands that are played, the more value this gets. I'm not sure what you really need like 30 mana for, but I'm sure there's a playable thing that works with this. So does this work in like a combo later in the game, or you just need a bunch of mana?
I mean, it can do either, right? Whatever you would use mana on, this makes a lot of it. I'm
trying to think in Hearthstone. So in Hearthstone, there are cards that enable us to get to 20 mana. At 20 mana, that shit goes crazy if you have the good hand for it. Like if you have the cards to play, like obviously you're so far ahead. In Commander, you probably have cards to play, especially if you're putting this in your deck. You probably have a reason to get more mana, which means this card probably gets value even at like the worst case scenario, which is 12 mana. Oh, that's really interesting. God, I don't know. Like, I feel like this isn't that broken. But again, like, how does a player react if you play this and then you get punished for using your mana? It's an interesting conversation. Because all 3 people are affected by this, in a sense. And then you get to catapult your... I mean, like, it's good, but it's not Winota. Like that.
It's definitely not Winota. It's a very... Winota is hella wide, and this is... Who knows? It's to the moon.
I guess you can also utilize this for, like, commanders. I'm just trying to see, like, what commander you've shown me so far that I think is, like, insanely good. Like, Niv? Would I want to use this for Niv?
Dude, you could have used this to cast your commander in our game. It's 7 mana for that thing.
Yeah, I guess in that case, yeah. I gotta remember the commander's there, like always. You don't have to draw it. So if that's the case, it's like if you have the mana and you know you could pop off with it, you can do some disgusting things here. That's kind of good. That seems like a type of an effect that could drastically change the outcome of the game. But it is a sorcery, and you are under the stipulation that your opponents have to have their mana tapped. Also don't have any way to stop this. Because this is like your full turn on turn 5. I don't see it.
No,
I think there's way stronger cards than this. I think this is a good card. I don't think it's like, again, it's good cards are allowed to exist. I don't think the game is going to be over because of this.
Not a game changer.
Not on the list.
Not a game changer. You are correct. It's not a game changer. It's not a game changer. It's a really good card, and I've seen Mana Geyser generate 20 plus mana a number of times, and the reaction at the table is generally, oh shit.
That's fair.
But you know what? You're right. Powerful cards are allowed to exist. I think you put it very, very well. So
nice.
Let's talk about this one.
Jessica's Will, 2 neutral, 1 red. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Add 1 red mana for each card in target's opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. Stipulation here. When they're exiled, do I have to pay the mana cost?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is very interesting. So you want to have both here because they work in tandem together. 3 mana. Okay, let me do the math here. If your opponent has 3 cards in hand, you start with 7. You would play this on turn 3. If your opponent draws a card and only plays 1 card per turn, which is very unlikely because they're going to pay lands, you need a way to like synergize with this. You need a way for a card to be like everyone draws cards. Can you pick your own hand?
No, you cannot. Has to be an opponent.
Oh, I already target opponent's hand. If you have a way to make your opponent draw cards, then you play this. That goes crazy. Like that's probably better than Mana Geyser because it's cheaper. I guess it's still a sorcery. If you have the commander, you get both, which is so sick. Let me compare this to Mana Geyser for 1 sec. Hold on. Is this better than Mana Geyser? The most you're getting if you don't have a way to make your opponent draw cards is 7. This is a sorcery, so it's not like in a super immediate effect. You can cast this on your opponent's turn, correct?
Nope.
You cannot.
You
can't for sorcery. Mm-hmm. That's kind of I don't know. Like the other thing is like if I pick this and my opponent, let's say I pick my opponent's hand and they have mana left over, and then they spend a mana to play cards. That means I'm getting less mana value in return, right?
If you choose your opponent and they respond by casting some spells, you get less mana. Yes, that is true. Yeah.
I just have to think about maybe the second one here. Exile the top 3 cards of your library and you play them this turn. I don't like. I feel like the only way this is really good. I mean, the thing is like if you're turn 3 and your opponent has 7 cards in hand, this is disgusting. Like it's so broken. You're getting 4 mana. Like turn 3, that is insane. How often does that happen is the question. And like during these turns, often your opponent's going to be playing stuff anyways, or like spending their mana. So like they're not going to necessarily have a chance to respond. If you do get this early enough, this is just disgusting. If you have your commander, this is even better. So is that a game changer enough? This is obviously it can be a very strong card. It's very contextual, but I'm sure there's ways that you can manipulate your opponent's hand to make this even more broken. I'm going to say it's banned because I think there's a two turn combo, or not banned, but on the list, because there's a 2-turn combo that allows you to make your opponent draw so many cards, then you play this and then you get infinite mana. Or not infinite, but like a crop down.
Okay. So this is on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, it is on the list. It is on the list. But I disagree with a great much of your analysis.
Really? Okay. What is it about?
Jeska's Will. This is a really interesting inclusion. For one thing, this was in a pre-con, which is something that like the pre-con level says no game changers. So I don't know if that was a mistake or they just wanted to get in more hands or what. But Jeska's Will is like currently known to go in almost every red deck. It really does not. I've been in situations where Jeska's Will hasn't been great for me. Like I've been in those spots, but they're few and far between compared to the amount of times Jeska's Will just breaks a game wide open. You usually don't need to force an opponent to draw any cards to make this good. There is usually at least one player at the table who is doing everything they can to draw as many cards as they can anyway. And if that's not true, there's also usually one player at the table who's not having a great game. They're having a pretty bad start. It's not quite going to plan, so they have a lot of cards stuck in their hand. Jeska's Will without a target to like get 6 or 7 mana is pretty rare. It really is. It doesn't happen too often. Yeah. You can play it with ways to get people's hands full. Your deck had Wheel of Fortune, which is everybody draws a new 7. You can run it with a card like that. You know, that's perfectly fine because you draw 7 as well. So it's good. It's good for you, good for everyone, better for you. And the Exile 3 cards, like what usually happens with Jeska's Will, it can happen early in a game, but often it's like turn 4, 3 or 4 play your commander. The following turn, Jeska's Will kind of get a draw 3, get a huge mana boost to cast most of those. It can take you off right into the stratosphere. And I've seen, actually, you played this card. You played this card and flipped a Wheel of Fortune. I remember that now.
I'm honest, I don't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you had like one of the best Jeska's Wills of all time. It flipped the Sir Conrad and the Wheel of Fortune. And it almost killed me. Yeah, it almost killed everyone. And it did kill Voxy.
Killed Voxy. I remember that. Okay, I remember the Wheel of Fortune killing Voxy.
Jeska's Will is what gave you access to the mana and the 3 cards that turn that that ended Voxy and almost ended me. So yeah, it made the Game Changers list. Jeska's Will is one of the only ones that's ever been a pre-con that made the Game Changers list. Good card.
Okay.
Really powerful card.
Oh my God.
You're cooking. You were cooking for a minute. You're cooking there. All right. How about this card?
What the fuck? Morophone the Boundless? I think that's how you say that. Morophon.
Yeah. Morophon, yeah.
7 neutral. Another Commander-esque card. Changeling. This card is every creature's okay. As this enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type you cast cost 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 1 green less to cast.
Magic players say Wooburg.
Spells of the chosen type you cast cost. So that just means like it's 1 less mana for all colors across the board, which means like if this card has all 5 mana types, it's free.
Yeah, if that were the casting, if this were the exact casting cost of a spell, that spell would be free. Yep. And
then if it has like 1 black, 1 blue, and then 1 neutral, it'd just be the 1 neutral to cost.
That's right.
To cast. Okay.
Yep.
This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you play. Okay. Other creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1. This is a 6/6. Okay. So if this is your commander, how do you utilize this? Because like this is just neutral mana, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You want to put this as just a card in your deck then?
Well, as a commander, you can build your deck with no color restrictions because it has all 5 color identity because of the pips in the text box.
Oh, okay. So this would be okay. That's kind of interesting. And this only works while this is on the board.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that is extremely interesting. That's a lot of mana cheating. 7 mana to play this, and then you get a bunch of mana back. I gotta really think of like how disgusting would this be? If you play this on turn 7, and then you have a really good hand for this, you probably put yourself in a position to win the game. This is a must-kill card. But if they're gonna cast the spell, you just cast all your other stuff on the stack, and then you don't care, even if it dies at that point.
If it resolves, you get priority to make the first move. So there's nothing they could do to kill it before you would get to put a spell on the stack with the cost
like
reduction.
At least one.
At least one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like, if you mana cheat this, which I'm sure, like we just kind of talked about how you can cheat mana to get your commander out earlier, but they banned it. Except for
banned?
Not the one you showed me. The other one. What's it called?
The Lion's Eye Diamond.
No. What's the other one that's like 3 mana for your commander?
Jessica's Will.
Is that one banned? That one's banned, right?
I don't know which one you mean for mana cheating. No, everything's mana cheating.
You said Lion's Eye Diamond. You said there's a card that's like 3 mana to use only specifically to cast your commander.
Jewel
that
Lotus.
Card's banned, right?
Yep, that was one of the banned cards from last September. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna say this you're playing this on turn 7. So if you have this on turn 7, you're able to play this card. Your hand is really good for this effect. You probably put yourself in a winning position. Is this really that broken though? This is I would have to see the deck list to really understand how good this card is. Because I don't know how many good cards you're really gonna have. The interesting thing is like if there's a card that says it casts all 5 mana, like all different colors, and then it makes all your other cards cheaper, then this card's infinitely better because you get a free mana and then you get to get more reduction, which means you get to play more cards.
Interesting.
This one's hard because I don't know. You haven't shown me a lot of like 5 color cards, like not even including just in this video. Like I don't know how powerful that really is.
I'll show you a few cards if you like. You want some cards?
Okay, give me
let's go a little deep on Morophon here. Where did that just go? I just dragged a card. Where'd it go? Every now and then I like drag an image and the computer just eats it.
Yeah. Just eats it.
Yeah, I gotta find where they put it. There you go. There's one. And then I've got another one that's so perfect for this because you already said you like this guy.
You may pay that mana rather than paying the mana cost for spells that you cast. What the fuck?
That's Fists of Suns. And here's another version of Niv Mizzet.
So I'm going to say with the context of this on board, this is free flying. When enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library for each color pair. Choose a card that exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. Each color pair, so like red, blue.
Yep.
And if they have all 5 colors, can I just pick a pair?
No, it has to be exactly that pair.
Okay. That one's a little tough. That's also really tough to like analyze, but I'm assuming that's pretty good. I mean, the first card's fucking disgusting. I'm gonna put it like that. Like that sure combination's disgusting. Like that, you didn't even have to show me Niv. Like that was just enough. Because if you you just play this earlier, and then your opponent either goes, "I have to deal with that," or if by the time he casts Morphon, the game's fucking over.
Yeah,
so
everything's free. Yeah.
That's pretty nasty, man. I mean, that is the definition of a game breaker. The question is like, does it happen late enough where you just don't care? That means you're playing literally everything in your hand. Like you're just having fun. You're the only person having fun at the table if these two things are on the board.
Spells are free, baby.
Because it fits all criteria, right? No mass land denial or extra turns. I mean, that's fine. No 2-card infinite combos. Isn't this the exact definition of an infinite combo? Infinite mana. You just play every card. Your opponent says
it's virtually infinite mana. Yeah.
It's not an infinite. It's not a 2-card infinite combo though. Very strong card. Yes. If you pair it with that, I'm assuming it's still good on its own. Ruins the game. Okay. So this is probably the only clause that matters here. If I did this and I have both these on the board and I'm playing just a shit ton of cards, is the game just not fun anymore? Yeah, probably. I mean, for me, it's a blast, but my opponents are probably like, what the hell are we doing this again? But then your opponent does all of this. You play Cyclonic Rift. Wait, that's on the list right now.
That's on the list.
You play that, and it's like, do it again, I guess. I mean, this one's weird. I want to say yes, but I also think it won't be.
Why is that?
If you don't have Fist of Suns, how good is this card?
Depends how many Niv Mizzet Reborns are in your deck, I guess, or how many 5-color cards. There's a number of them. Like, you do choose a creature type, so you get to build your deck around a certain creature type. So you might have a number of creatures of that type that are reduced or free.
I don't know. Isn't it like low-key Disney World here? Like they play this, they get one spell, but they already spent 7 mana on this. And then you just make them have you have to make them have an answer to your like removal spell because you just play for this if you're worried that they're going to play it, especially if they have the Fist in hand, like or on board. You're going to be like, I'm saving mana for this specific card. I don't think it's on the list. I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. The Fist of Suns thing's stupid as hell, but I don't see it. I might regret this decision, but I'm going to go with no.
You got it. It's not on the list. Well done. All the bait in the world. All the bait in the world, and I couldn't get him. Hurts my soul, to be honest.
Oh my God.
Oh, all right. Well,
okay.
You are a tough one to crack. But I'm not through with you yet.
Okay. Okay. I think you showed me this card before.
I think I have.
Grand Arbiter Augustine. I think that's the 6th or the 4th.
The 4th.
Good. 2 neutral, 1 white, 1 blue. Okay, another legendary creature is your problem as a commander. Yes, white spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Spells your opponent cast cost 1 more to cast. The last line alone, I think, might be enough to put this on the game changer list. And that's not even including the fact that the other things exist as well, because the turn you play this is so many spells get so much cheaper. It's so much mana cheating, and your opponent's life are miserable because now they have 1 more mana. Man, I mean, okay, so you're either like, okay, I have to metagame this now because either you're putting this on this list for straight bait and it's not good enough to be on the list. Let me go. I'm not falling for this. Let me go through the list. Hold on.
Okay.
It's not land denial because most lands don't cost mana to play.
That's right.
There's no two card, potentially two card infinite combo here. Potentially. Very strong card, yes. Does it ruin the game? Has a very high likelihood to. Very high. It is.
Once this card ruin the game. Paying one more ruins your game.
Well, it's in tandem with the fact that potentially all their spells cost 2 less. So, I mean, it's kind of a lot. 2 spells or 2 mana less. If all your spells are white and blue, you are mana cheating out of your ass. And then your opponent has increased. Have you ever, like in Hearthstone, there's a card called Neophyte, which says 2 mana, 3/2, battlecry, your opponent's spells next turn cost 1 more. That spell, that 1 minion can lose you the game on the spot. Like, it is disgusting. Loatheb is an extreme example with 5 mana more to cast spells. But obviously, Loatheb's a 5 mana 5/5. This is your commander that you get mana cheating on top of the effect that it impacts all of your opponents. And then your opponents, if they want to remove this, have to spend an additional mana for this, which also means you're playing blue, which is like, oh, if you're going to cast this spell and you spent the mana for this, I'm going to counter your ass. And now you're even more upset. So it's like an infinite loop of just pissing off people, and you get the advantage of all this mana cheating. Oh my God. I'm going to go with yes, it's on the list, but I think you baited me.
You think I baited you?
I think you baited me, but I think objectively the card is very good. So I'm going to go with yes. It breaks the game if it resolves.
I have a Grand Arbiter Augustine IV that I had Voxy sign because she borrowed it to play against Prof and Moist Critical on an episode of the Professor's Show Shuffle Up and Play. And she played this on turn 2 off of a Soul Ring.
Game over.
Voxy loves this card. It made everybody so mad. If you bring it up to her, she'll be like, why don't you just kill it? What's so hard about killing a 2/3? She like stands by that. And now we all get to laugh at her because this card is on the list. Yes, it is.
Nice.
Actual game ruiner in the house. And I'm sure somewhere she's probably already tweeted about it if somebody hasn't told her by now.
That's a gross card.
Yeah. Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. There were only 4 legendary, like multicolored, popular commanders on the list, and this is one of them. And you already saw Kinnan, and you already saw Winota. So that's like the kind of degeneracy that makes the list. Kind of wild. So I got one more here for you. I got one more. Curious what you think.
All right. What is this?
Hi. You got any food?
Okay, hold on. Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum.
Nauseum. Oh, okay. My bad. Holy fuck! I should have got that immediately. 3 neutral, 2 black. This is some Fallout looking motherfucker, dude. Instant. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. 4 mana to draw cards. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana. Okay. 4 mana to draw cards infinitely in a sense.
5
and this
mana?
is black. 5 mana, sorry, you're so right. 5 mana to draw infinite cards, and this is black. Black doesn't mind damaging themselves if they have another card to work with this. Is there a card that's like you don't take damage on your turn?
Not. So this is losing life, which is not the same as taking damage from a technical standpoint in Magic. I would say cards that say you don't take damage, not unusual. Cards that say you don't lose life are very unusual. I'll show you this card.
Angel's Grace. 1 white, instant split second. As long as the spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana. What the fuck?
It's
You can't.
supposed to be faster than instant is the idea.
That is maybe a bit silly. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn until the end of turn. Damage that would reduce your life to this. Your damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduced to 1 instead. So like you're at 1, but you can't die.
Yeah,
that is extremely interesting because you could do. This card is like if you have a way to get mana consistently. You could just play every card in your deck if you have an effect like this. And you just keep going. I just don't know the combination of cards you need in order to pull that off. Because there is a world if these cards exist that this just wins you the game. Because you just never run out of resources. If there's a card that says like if you take damage, gain a mana. Hearthstone's have that effect, for instance, by the way. And
don't think we have that.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. There's a card in Hearthstone that used to be 2 mana, 2/3. Is it 2 mana? Maybe it was a 3 mana. 3 mana, 3/4. After hero takes damage, gain 2 mana. And that card was fucking silly.
Yeah. Let me guess. Was it for Warrior?
No, it's for Warlock.
Oh, wow. Even better.
Warlock. And it was. They nerfed it to 1 mana. They nerfed it to 1 mana refund, and it was. Yeah, it was really they had to massacre it in Wild because it was too good. Like it's not a playable card anymore, I don't think, at least. I think this card is good. I would have to see the vision for it. I can't put the pieces together other than drawing like infinitely, even with a card like Angel's Grace. Because yeah, you have all these cards, but what are you doing that? What are you using them for? I guess there is a world where you could just draw a bunch of stuff. End your turn, discard a bunch of stuff, and then you have a ton of stuff in your graveyard. But I feel like there's just a way better way of doing that. There's something with this card. I'd have to see more of the cards it interacts with to truly understand its power. But I could see it being very good. Like the potential of a card like this is extremely high. Is it a 2? I think it's strong. It has the potential to ruin the game. The only asterisk I really have here is it is a 2 card infinite combo. Is there another card that works with this that just breaks the game entirely? Probably yes, but I'd have to see it. Like potentially yes, but I'd have to see it. So because I don't know if it exists, I'm going to go with no, it's not on the list. But if the card exists, then yes. But I'll go no.
So not on the list. Okay. Ad nauseum is on the list.
Okay.
It's not because of a specific card with a combo, but maybe the bigger vision is like how an Ad Naus deck comes together. Ad nauseum is considered in CEDH and has been called for a while a 1-card win con. Because when built with a deck with a low enough curve and a 40 life starting total, Ad nauseum can, in theory, draw almost, if not all, of your deck. And from a position where you have all those cards, there are enough cards printed in the history of Magic going through the entire file of 27,000 cards that somehow generate mana from that position to build up enough mana to play then a 2-card combo that wins the game. You know, Ad nauseum is often featured in decks with Lion's Eye Diamond and those cards that cast things from the graveyard to put that combo together. Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, because that's like a 2-mana combo. You know, Lion's Eye being 0 and Underworld Breach is like 2. The idea of Ad Naus is basically you get so many cards together that either you will have the resources to win the game on the spot, or you will have cards that tutor and go find you the resources to win the game on the spot. It's just too many cards all at once that you can almost always find a way to win. Not always, but most of the time. And I think that's why Ad nauseum is like one of those cards. It's so rarely played in casual, because if you build the deck like I would call a normal commander player who plays for fun, you know, then your curve isn't going to be low enough for Ad nauseum to be good. You're going to flip over some of your 7-mana dum-dums and die, right? Or you're going to draw like 3 or 4 cards and you're going to wish you'd cast some other spell, right? And hadn't lost all this life. But in super competitive tiers, where the curve is built artificially held low because the whole point is to find Ad nauseum, cast Ad nauseum, draw your whole deck, and win in some way with those cards. The whole Ad nauseum is the win con. It is sometimes, along with Force of Will, the only 5-mana cards in the deck, and everything else is cheaper. Like, that's the way that they build around the whole card.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was one of the earlier like CEDH, like when people were really kind of pioneering that format, and people found out you could just draw your deck with ad nos. It kind of ran that format for a while, and still is very popular there. So ad nos is the rare miss for Rarran here in this video, but that's a good thing. Like, you nailed a lot of it. You nailed a lot of it, dude. Like I feel like that's both you being a card gaming god, and I actually do think Wizards did a pretty good job for the first run of the list. I think they did. The mana drain is weird, but the rest makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I'd agree. I don't understand Force of Will. I would like to hear a description.
Yeah, we want
I think
answers.
descriptions are necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if they're going to do this, which is great, yeah, they need to explain their thought process, I think.
All right. And overall, game changer list, it's like a soft ban list, right? It's like they banned the cards only in lower power levels is kind of how they did it. What do you think overall? Good for Commander? Which bracket do you want to play in? What next time we play?
Oh, that's hold on. This is good for Commander, especially if they're going to use it at like conventions and stuff, like events.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta reread the list here. No chain extra, no mainland. Probably like core is fine. I don't mind 3 either. 3 is probably fine.
3? I think most of our games are at 3. That's like where my crew plays the most, I think.
Yeah, I think the land denial thing on its own across the first 3 is like really important. You would like to play the game, which is great. So the first 3 are fine.
Fully agree. All right, we're gonna play an upgraded game of Commander someday. Cool.
Okay.